Today's Keys to the Commonwealth episode is brought to you by Nova Insurance. Are you a business owner or property manager in Kentucky or the surrounding states? Protecting your investment has never been more crucial. Nova Insurance specializes in commercial risk advising for your commercial business, as well as your commercial real estate and rental properties. With personalized service and expert advice, Nova Insurance ensures you are covered from every angle. Call 859-687-2004 today or visit them at novainsuranceGroup.com. Nova Insurance, securing your future one policy at a time. Now, today's episode. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Keys to the Commonwealth podcast. Different avenue that we're going to be approaching today as far as the world of entrepreneurship and business with my good friend Jeremy Buchanan in the house today. And he's got an awesome story. We've known each other for quite a long time, honestly, back
long time.
Pre-kids, skinny jeans, punk rock days.
Yeah, back when we had money and free time.
I don't know if we had money, but
back when we had free time.
Money and free time, I guess, in that sense for sure. Yeah. But yeah, so you are the master distiller for Hartfield and Co. Bourbon Distillery out of Paris, Kentucky.
Yeah.
This is for anybody that wants to is watching the video, here's a quick look at the bottle here. That we're going to, actually, I think we're going to tap into this today and break it open.
Why not?
I'm excited about that.
Why not, Landry?
And by all means, we can do that at any point in time here. But, so before we do that though, hop back in the door and kind of tell me a little bit more about how you ended up in I don't think you probably set off in any point in your most of your first half of your life saying, I'm going to be a master distiller.
It's pretty straightforward path.
And we don't have to but just hop in the door and tell me how, kind of give me the Reader's Digest version. I don't even know if that's a real thing. If people even understand when I say Reader's Digest anymore.
Yeah,
now that I say that, gosh, I feel I'm older and older every day. But how'd you get to where you are at now? I mean, we obviously met in college, but you're from Paris?
Yeah, so grew up in Bourbon County, and I went off to college at UK. That's where we met.
Yep.
Worked in campus ministry for a long time. I have a master's of divinity degree, so undergrad in business management, and then went off to Asbury Seminary with every intention of being a pastor for the rest of my life. So, got my seminary degree, got ordained and started as a pastor. And worked in a couple different churches around town and loved that.
So the obvious place people are going here is that led you to the career you're on now. Is just from I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
It's okay. I'm an ordained minister as well.
Drinking a lot. So no, it's kind of random circumstances of life, right? So got into bourbon when I was in college and, getting out of college. The bourbon industry in Kentucky has just absolutely had like a meteoric expansion in the last 20 years. The growth has just been pretty incredible. And, so bourbon as a category of spirits has just gotten more and more popular. So just like a lot of folks, you started drinking more bourbon, just learning more about the history. And
just like when we were in college, if you were drinking bourbon, you were just drinking it
in a red Solo cup with Coke on top of it, right?
Or just to get hammered.
Yeah.
So I was not drinking bourbon in college. It wasn't until after that, because I was I hated getting the feeling of getting drunk and stuff like that. I still do. But I was it wasn't until I was probably 29, 30 years old before I was like, what is this brown stuff?
This brown liquid.
Yeah. Well, it was still gasoline for me for a long time. But then I kind of forced my way into acquiring the taste. And then you kind of start realizing, there is these nuances about it.
Yeah, right on, man. So, similar journey, except, having grown up in Bourbon County, it's the birthplace of the Spirit. It's where the Spirit gets its name.
Is it really? Okay, I mean, what's that story? I mean, I think people maybe guess that, but maybe most people don't know the story behind that itself.
Yeah. So a couple years before Kentucky became a state, it was still like a territory of Virginia, right? So Kentucky County began being broken up into smaller counties as westward expansion settlers moved beyond the mountains and settled in Kentucky. So Bourbon County was founded as one of the first 5 counties in the state, and it stretched about a fifth of the state. So pretty much where modern day Bourbon County is,
Okay.
up to.
So now I'm learning Kentucky history I don't even know about.
Yeah, right on, man. So Bourbon County.
You mean we didn't start with 150 counties or whatever we have?
We did
120 counties right out of the gate.
Yeah, no, we did. So it's right after the Revolutionary War.
Yeah.
Everybody's feeling good about the French and their contribution to helping us have our own country. And so, they named it after the French House of Bourbon. We also got, Fayette County at that time after the French general, Lafayette. And so, so Bourbon County stretched about a fifth of the state. It only stayed that they started being broken down in about three or 4 years, but that whole region was still known as Old Bourbon County, hence the name for our brand, Old Bourbon County. But yeah, it's undisputably the birthplace.
That's your main title bourbon scenario there, right?
Yeah, we got a couple of different brands. The Hartfield Family Reserve is what we're going to be tasting a little later today. And then we've got Old Bourbon County is another line of bourbons we have, and then our Hartfield Pre-Prohibition line. So
you all have taken the untraditional approach, not untraditional, the more traditional approach, I guess you would probably say, and I would say then there's been so many brands that have popped up over the years that we'll get to, but you all have kind of, well, I guess let me back up. And so really what you all have is you kind of resurrected a family. There's a family ties to a distillery that used to exist, and you all have recently in recent years brought it back.
Yeah, right on, man. So, which I laugh about this because I think like anybody their families have been in Kentucky for long enough, like they've got someone in their heritage that was a distiller. It's like so many people did it, back in the day. Like it was just a way to like make your corn or your crops like shelf stable, like a commoditized good you could trade. Yeah. And so, but yeah, so my grandfather's grandfather was a man named Isaac Hartfield, and he and his brother Leopold immigrated from Germany.
Leopold,
Isaac and Leopold, old Leo. And so they settled in what's now Greene County, Kentucky.
Yep.
That's where my dad grew up, had a farm there and started the Hartfield Distiller in 1865. Like a lot of things back in the day, it burned down. So, alcohol vapor and grain dust are both, flammable.
Yeah. And when did it burn down?
Sometime in the 1890s. We don't exactly know when. They, stopped paying taxes. Last year was like 1891.
Okay.
So before Prohibition set in, the Hartfield Distiller was lost, and that label, all that stuff was kind of lost to history.
I don't know, logo stuff or bottles or any kind of things you've ever found?
Not that I know of. We obviously have looked for like old bottles or anything that, had like something that said Hartfield on it and couldn't find it. Really, the tax records, there's one photo of the distillery. It was in an old newspaper that my aunt found doing some genealogy research. We do have a picture of the distillery. The site of the distillery, it sits on a creek in Greene County, and I've been there. There's nothing, essentially nothing left. It's just a field with cows in it now. So anyways, got out of college. My brother and I got into bourbon, and, he's a super entrepreneurial guy. And, we were just drinking one night saying, isn't it crazy that we grew up in Bourbon County? It's the birthplace of the spirit. There's no distilleries here.
So you've known at this point, you have a family history so that wasn't like news to you.
Yeah, it was kind of like somewhere in the back of my knowledge. Like I knew my aunt had said like, hey, here's our family genealogy or whatever. She's kind of getting into the family history at that point. And, that really stuck with my brother, the idea there's no bourbon from Bourbon County. And so he started the distillery in 2014. So just celebrated our 10-year anniversary last year. And a couple years after he started, my dad and I bought out his partner. We're just kind of like silent partners. I was still pastoring churches in Lexington, living my life. But when COVID happened, things got really busy, and he asked me to step in and work there full time. And then he actually stepped out of the distillery in 2001. So that's when I
2021.
Yes, sorry, 2021. Yep,
okay.
That year.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, 2021. So that's when I took over as the president and master distiller.
Is that wild to think about, that title for you in some ways? I'm sure it's not as much now, but like early on, you're like,
yeah. Well, I have a master's of divinity, so
like there's not a master's of chemical. Usually you sign these science.
I think people should call themselves master of their craft more often.
There you go. That's a great point.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You're a master of insurance.
That seems, yeah. I guess in some ways I get it. But yeah, let's pop open this stuff.
Yeah,
while
man,
we're
let's
talking
crack it
about it.
open. So this is
What
our
we got here.
Yeah, this is our Hartfield Family Reserve. This bourbon is 9 years old. It's really amazing bourbon. So we were telling you about it the other day. You're gonna have to vamp while I open this thing.
Yeah.
Telling you about it the other day. So we just won a double gold with this at the San Francisco.
So we were scheduled to kind of do this the other day.
Yeah.
And then Jeremy calls me. He's like, "Hey, we just won double gold at the San Francisco Spirits Fest competition there." And is that arguably the largest spirits competition? I mean, there's a lot of them.
It's one of the oldest and like sort of best recognized.
Seen as one of the best
recognized. To win double gold, like not a lot of people know about spirits competitions. You're not in that space, right? But
people who are in bourbon know about it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, for sure. And so to win double gold, you have to get a gold rating from every judge that has tasted your bourbon. So if it's unanimous, then you get the double gold category.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a huge honor, man. Just great for a little distillery like us to be winning such a prestigious award.
Now they are on the Bourbon Trail, which is awesome. So it's cool to kind of see them on that map of source with all the other distilleries that are on there. But you have taken the 10-year anniversary. You all have taken the approach of like truly being a small craft distillery and not just you didn't have the luxury of like you see a lot of other brands that I won't name that maybe have started earlier on or recently and just get large kind of equity partner money that massive amounts of money just thrown into stuff like that right. And so this has been a methodical thing for 10 years building this scenario and doing it the way you want to.
Yeah, right on, man. So we didn't like go out and raise a bunch of money or anything to start. I mean, it was a true small business. Just kind of grow as you go. And it's definitely taking advantage of the fact that bourbon continues to be super popular. And COVID was a interesting time for all of us, but for the spirits world, everybody stayed home and stopped going on vacation and stopped going to bars and restaurants. So they were spending a lot of money on expensive bottles. So it's good time again just to grow as a brand. And but yeah, we're getting to the point where we're getting some recognition and ready to start expanding outside of Kentucky, which is amazing.
Yeah. So talk to me about this one, the one that are in double gold here, Hartfield Company Family Reserve. This is going to be more of like a once a year specialty type of bottle.
Oh, so we release it all the time. So it's on the shelf now.
Oh, okay.
All over Kentucky.
Things are changing. I can't keep up with it.
Yeah, right on. Okay. So we released it for our 10-year anniversary. We just had 10 barrels that were 9 years old. So obviously you're limited by the number of barrels you have. So we sold out of those 10 barrels pretty quickly. One of those 10 is the one that won the award, but we had more barrels that turned 10 this year. So April and June barrels. So
and just like I like it. I like the barrel proof, straight and neat.
And cast strength barrel, single barrel is the way to go in my mind.
Yeah.
It's kind of the purest form of the spirit, right? Colonel Blanton's was on that. Really. You can't hide anything in here. You're not blending it together with other barrels. It's like, it is what it is.
So like for those that don't know, single barrel cast strength, I mean, basically means exactly what you're thinking is you almost basically just tap the barrel, poured yourself a drink straight from the barrel. I mean, usually there's been maybe a filter system to kind of filter out any charcoal. Sometimes they don't, non-chill. I don't even necessarily know what non-chill scenario.
Chill filtration.
Yeah. Or what the really difference as far as what it actually does in the difference. But yeah, I mean, that's the best way to enjoy bourbon in my opinion. Well, what's the rule? The rule is just enjoy bourbon however you want to enjoy bourbon, I guess.
I'm a fan of people drinking bourbon for sure. Yeah.
But
yeah, just drink more bourbon.
I've had people come over and then just like shoot a glass of some higher, nice bourbon. And in that case, I'm going to push back and be like, that's not the purpose of bourbon. It's to sit there and just necessarily shoot it. Like the whole purpose of it was, again, a commodity trade aspect because you're leftover corn. But then outside of that, it was kind of like pre-coffee shop sitting around having conversations over a campfire with your family, your friends, etc., to be sipped and enjoyed. And that's why, I mean, I know you're probably the same way. I'm the same this way, which is like, I don't have any of my bottles that are just unopened type of scenario. I have one that I'm waiting for more of a special occasion. I'm sure people have that too. that's a 20-year barrel proof. I will leave the distillery unnamed at this point. But outside of that, I'm like, I'm not sitting here like bartering this stuff for other people. I'm like, no, I'm buying it for myself and enjoy with people and sit down. Hey, you come over. Let me, if you don't know bourbon, I love having people from not from Kentucky come over to my house and they're like, oh, I don't know if I can get to this, 100, because we're drinking 122 proof right now, 122.3 proof right now, straight neat. And they're like, oh, I could never get up to that. And then I'll slowly like walk them through from like 90 proof to this and then this, and they'll start seeing all these flavors. And by the 3 months ago, this happened from some friends from Nebraska. And then by the end of it, I had them drinking, I think, Elijah Craig barrel proof.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't even notice that I'm drinking this high proof anymore type of scenario. So I don't know, but
yeah, right on, man. I think, so
this is fabulous, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah.
This is my first taste of this one. I've been waiting kind of for the podcast to have my virgin voyage here on this particular one.
Yeah. So, like obviously being a pastor, like one of the things that, I love people and I love gathering people together. I think creating time and space for people to share their stories is really important.
Yeah.
And mediums like this are helpful for that, right? It's just a moment when you can slow down a little bit and just kind of open up. And one of the things I found about owning a distillery and like you said, we're on the Bourbon Trail. We get 20,000 visitors a year to our distillery from all over the world. And we love just really creating that time and space that just for people to stop and share their stories over a glass of whiskey. And there's something about bourbon in particular, I think, that just causes people to really reflect and pay attention to their senses it sort of creates a sense of community. And so that's one of the things that I love most about being in the industry, is that there's so much excitement around bourbon that it's really, really draws people in and allows them to kind of open up and share who they are.
Yeah. I mean, the whole point, like I said, the point is to slow down with it. And I think that's true to the process, obviously, that goes into bourbon is that, growing up in Kentucky, I don't think I realized the impact that bourbon, and again, this was pre the re-immersion and explosion of, I think, bourbon in some respects, but love how the fact that like I can go to almost any of these bourbon tours now, and I guarantee that 99% of the time I will be me or my wife, or if I'm here with a buddy from Kentucky, we'll be the only people from Kentucky on these tours. Yeah. And that was like this eye-opening, realizing we are kind of the Napa Valley in some ways, but of the spirits world for sure in that aspect. As far as, I mean, how many distilleries are in Kentucky at this point? You probably at least have a better guess than I do.
Yeah, 60 some odd are now members of the Kentucky Distillers Association. So I'm on the executive committee there.
Okay. The what committee?
Executive committee, like the board, the Kentucky Distillers Association.
Distillers
Association. And so, obviously that number's expanded a lot in the last 10, 15 years. You got your big, heritage distillers that have been around for forever.
Today's episode is brought to you by Nova Insurance, proudly offering Erie Insurance. Entrepreneurs know that success in business isn't just about working hard, it's about making smart decisions. That's why at Nova Insurance, we trust Erie Insurance to protect our clients' businesses. For 100 years, Erie has built a reputation for competitive rates and top-notch service, earning some of the highest industry rankings. We've helped many local business owners find real value through Erie's tailored coverage, ensuring peace of mind while they grow. Celebrate a century of excellence with Erie Insurance and let us show you how we can protect what matters most to your business. Call us at 859-687-2004 or visit www.novainsuranceGroup.com to get started today. And now back to the show. Is it like one big kind of family though, still at the same time, realizing
there's a lot of the same thing in the industry? I mean, I think it's nice during a growth period. It's easy to get along when everybody's winning so much. But certainly, there's a lot of sort of fellowship in the just in the industry itself, and But yeah, you're totally right. I think the KDA a few years back really wanted to diversify income streams for the distillers who were a part of it, and realized that that Napa Valley model could be something that would really work well in Kentucky. And as you know, Kentucky is a beautiful place, man. It's one of the things I love the most about Bourbon County. Is just surrounded by horse farms.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole driving your way from Lexington to Paris, that drive on Paris Pike is just just phenomenal.
Just don't go too fast.
Yeah. every day, driving to work, you got the sun coming up and horses just trotting around the field. And it really, Kentucky's a special place. And so, but I don't, it's kind of a hidden gem, it's not the top of the list on, places I want to visit the United States. And so, the Bourbon Trail has drawn a lot of people in. And then they kind of, once they hear this, say, man, this is a pretty great place.
And I always tell people, especially if you really want to do it right, come back April, come back October. I prefer October with, obviously Keeneland, the meats. But that's so true. And I think Lexington and parts of the state have done such a great job over the last 10 to 20 years of really starting to promote more and more of a tourism aspect. We have Eastern Kentucky now, and that's a whole nother concept. I think that's the new place I think that the state is starting to push into, of realizing obviously there's not a coal scenario here in Eastern Kentucky anymore, but we have a beauty there that we could capitalize on, and more aspects of tourism and so forth like that.
Right on. Like, try to go to Miguel's at the Gorge now. Like, you can't get
just there. But
when we were in college, like, you just show up, there's like 2 cars in the parking lot, you get pizza and you go back out climbing or whatever. But like now you can't get a foot in the parking lot. But
you're right. It's a hidden gem it's becoming less and less of a hidden gem scenario, and realizing growing up here, what I'm trying to say is that I didn't feel like we had much of it as a state to offer.
Yeah.
And now as an adult, I'm like, dude, I love bringing people from out of state. That I've just had friends in for like a month ago, and they had never been in the state of Kentucky. I was like, well, if I can promise you anything, you are definitely going to at least leave way more impressed with the state in your time here than you anticipated in that sense. And that, between the horses, between the bourbon tourism, between the hiking, the boating aspect, as far as, I guess we're the houseboat capital of the world. And now we have the Appalachian Mountains. And I think that's the part I'm talking about too, of like needing to capitalize a little bit more on just that natural mountain beauty that we have. I think that's been kind of a little bit untapped in, or, still shocking to me that most people haven't even been to the gorge around this area type of scenario. You're like, it's only like 45 minutes down the road here. But within bourbon, like back to that with like how, the whole idea is that let's slow time down. Let's spend time with each other. Let's crack open the bottle. Let's finish the bottle. But the same thing goes into it. And I think that was the coolest part when I saw some documentaries out there of like, if you think about it, there's an oak tree that was needed that grew for however many years to grow, for the tree to grow. I mean, probably 50 to 100 years for the tree to grow. Then you cut it down. Then you put some corn and some other stuff, distill it, and you took a season to grow that. You put it into the barrel that you made out of the wood, and then you let it age for another 4 or 5, 12, sometimes 17, 20 years. And so by the time you get to you, if it's straight off the shelf, by the time it gets to my lips, there's been decades and decades of some kind of process in this that's all come together to make what we've got here in front of us.
Well, and there's no way to rush it, right? And so, I think as as modern Americans, like we live in a time when a lot of people feel very disconnected from community. They feel very disconnected from history. Like most people know their parents. They kind of, know their grandparents a little bit. They certainly didn't live with them, like they sort of around them maybe a little bit as kids. And then, they're there kind of when they passed away or whatever. They definitely don't know their great grandparents. So like, we basically know 2 generations of our family history.
Yeah.
And if you're like really interested, maybe a little bit more, but by and large, like we're very disconnected from history, the way that all of us got here, like what formed our cultural values and all that stuff. And so I think that creates kind of an unease in people. And people really yearn for connectivity. And I think one of the reasons that bourbon continues to win as a category is because it's like an anchor in time. Right. So when you open a bottle that's 9 years old, that thing sat around in our rick house for 9 years. It instantly transports you back in time, and you go like, man, what was I doing a decade ago?
Yeah.
It's 2025, right? It's what was happening in 2015, right?
Right.
And so it really serves as a way, I think, to give you that sense of connectedness to history. And then, just like we were talking about, something about opening up a bottle and sitting down and sharing it with someone. And it connects you in the present to whoever you're with. And, it feels like that's something that's very needed and welcomed in our.
I think it's going to become even more prevalent as we face this new era of the digital AI experience and everything becoming so inauthentic, and that we will start yearning more and more for what's real, authentic, real human interaction and a human experiences. Like, reality is human experience, and that connectivity aspect is going to become the new premium of what people really yearn for, desire, and want, because of everything else in our life will become so automated, and more so than a 10x than we've ever had before. It really will be. And so I think I even heard somebody the other day that there's going to be people that have crazy businesses where all they're doing is being hired to go walk with people.
Yeah.
Like, just for people, like, I want a human interaction. And so this, I think, kind of still comes back to the heart of that aspect.
Yeah. At the end of the day, like, I mean, I enjoy sort of using AI and seeing where that technology goes to. Some of it's kind of scary to think about, but, at the end of the day, we're humans, right? We're human beings who we all yearn for human connectivity, and there's no way to replace that with AI, or whatever the technology becomes. And it is one of the things I feel really good about. We make a physical product. There's not a way to get around how hands-on the production of whiskey is. It's really a process that hasn't changed much in the last 200 years. Like we're essentially still doing the same thing that my great grandfather did with his brother.
Yeah.
In 1865, we're growing grain, we're fermenting, with yeast. That maybe some of the distilling techniques have changed a little bit, but by and large, this is a practice. It's a craft that has existed, that came over, with the Scots from Scotland. And I don't think there's really not a way to replicate that or synthesize that. And you ever listen to the Diary of a CEO podcast with Stephen Bartlett?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, for which guest though?
So Simon Sinek was on there recently talking about AI, and
I think I saw some clips on it. Yeah,
it's really good, man. I mean, I really like Simon Sinek. I think I like listening to that podcast because Steven's British.
He does such a great job.
Yeah, well, I just like listening to his voice, man. That accent gets
that is true. That is true.
Yeah, but Simon. I mean, I really respect Simon Sinek too. Like, I mean, he just seems like he understands human nature, and but I mean, they were having a similar conversation around AI and where technology is going. And I think in the future, there will be a premium for authentically made things that are imperfect.
Yeah.
I mean,
I was talking about with art the other day. I was like, how much more will authentic pieces of art become? And that it'll almost be kind of a retribution circling back, that now we can do art at the click of a button just for saying, here's what I want. That how much more will be like, this is a one of one or 1 of 10 from an artist who actually did this type of scenario. Or me being a musician, I think you were a bit of a musician too, of like going and seeing physical music being played live, like that experience aspect. And that's really obviously still, again, the heart of what bourbon is.
Live music, just like the single barrel bourbon, right? Like it's beautiful because it happens once, and then when it's over, it's over. And there's something about that. Like, if you were there and you were there to experience, there's just something that's really amazing about a thing that happened for a moment and it was unique. And if you were there, you were part of it. And, like once that ends, it ends. It's never going to be repeated. I mean, that is the human experience, right?
Because when we're old, all we have is our memories of what we experienced.
The things that we went through, right? Yeah, that's right. And so, I love single barrel bourbon for that aspect. Like, you get a really good barrel and there's like you almost don't want to finish it, right? Because it's like, once this is done, it's done.
Yeah.
But it's there to enjoy. It's there to, to be experienced with people that you love. And so, I 100% agree with that. I think as we continue to march boldly into the future with AI, there's going to be a premiumization around experiences that are like that are imperfect, that are kind of one-off, that will never happen again.
Yeah. I mean, it's exciting times. I mean, obviously, I think we've seen there's a lot of private money just thrown at bourbon, obviously, like anything when it explodes at that. But I think you're starting to see kind of the shaking out of like what what's the new normal is going to be. And it's going to, be, hopefully, I think now that we have another new generation that's all about it type of scenario where it kind of, it's going to be exciting to kind of see where bourbon goes. So where do you think bourbon's going here over the next, 20 years?
Yeah, good question. We're in a little bit of a dip in the market right now, right? So, I mean, I don't think the market's truly contracting. I think it's just sort of correcting itself after COVID. Like any market, if it experiences growth long enough, there'd be a lot of dumb money. That's what I call it. Like a lot of dumb money got in the game, and folks that really didn't know what they were doing put a lot of money into it. And so, there's some bad news out there right now. Unfortunately, there's some companies that didn't have good business models and got out over their skis. And, there's going to be some really cheap distilling equipment available for the companies that managed to figure it out. Right. And I think
you're like, yeah, call me.
Yeah, right on. Yeah. So, we're honestly, Landry, we're finding a way to win. Like we're doing better than we ever done. In a time when other companies are finding it difficult, but you've
done it the more methodical way to build up to it, so that this is not going to affect you as much.
We're still small and nimble. Like we can react pretty quickly to what consumers are asking for in the moment, and we don't have a team of lawyers to go over copy for the back of a bottle. Like we just do stuff. And so yeah, I mean, I think long term, bourbon as a category is going to continue to win. I think for some of those reasons we just discussed. I think the future is very bright for bourbon, and then specifically for Kentucky bourbon. I mean,
I didn't know there's bourbon made outside of the state.
Wait,
sorry.
Yeah, wait, what? You can Texas bourbon? Yeah, no, I mean, we always joke like you can make bourbon anywhere in the United States, but if you want to sell it, you should make it in Kentucky.
That's right.
That's right. So there's just there's sort of like such a rich heritage in history here. The climate, the limestone water, all that contributes to us being able to make the best of the spirit. And so I certainly think that we're in for another period of extended growth, and excited to see what that looks like in the future.
That's awesome. Definitely get out to the distillery there in Bourbon County, Paris area. Obviously, it's a beautiful drive and some great food and coffee shops as well. I've been out there multiple times. Outside of that, though, what's kind of the best way to kind of find your all's products? I know I've definitely seen it in the stores. Or
yeah, sure. We're all over the place. So liquor stores, big and small. You can find us all over Kentucky.
Main one being the old Bourbon County product.
Yeah, old Bourbon County you're going to find everywhere. The Hartfield Family Reserve is also becoming more available at Liquor Barn and Kroger and all those places. A lot of independent stores carry us too. So if they don't have us, ask for us, and they'll figure it out. You can always go to our our website, hartfieldandcompany.com, to keep up with what we're doing. If you live outside of the state, Bourbon Outfitters carries all of our stuff, and you can order from them. I think they ship to 46 states now. So I always like to give a plug to them. Justin's House of Bourbon is getting a good partner for us in Lexington and Louisville. So you can go to their website. We're always doing single barrel releases and stuff with them as well. So, but mainly I would just love for people to come to the distillery, man. Love sharing a drink in our tasting room. It's a little tavern area there. It's a great place to just unwind and relax. And like Landry said, man, check out beautiful Bourbon County.
So is there at this point been people from all 50 states? Have you gotten all 50 states yet?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. All 50 states. I think we're up to like
countries?
30 or 40 different countries visited. We keep like a big map on the walls so people could pin, where they're visiting from. And so
that's still so wild to me. I'm sure it's even more wild for you. Maybe not as wild for you now, but just like how, again, you say 30 some countries. So it's just like,
it's amazing. Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah. Really amazing.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And so like I said, it's only picking up. I think the tourism for sure part of it's only been picking up in a big way for Kentucky and for the Bourbon Trail and so forth. So it's exciting in that capacity. I appreciate you, your friendship, you bringing this bottle over here to kind of break open today. And like I said, check him out. Check Hartfield Company out, website, social media. Go get a bottle if you can, as well as go find it. Go buy the distillery yourself. If you can't find it, you can always go by the distillery and find something there. So, Jeremy, appreciate your friendship. Appreciate your time.
Yep. Thanks for
excited to see what happens over the next 10, 20 years for sure.
Yep. Absolutely.
We'll see everybody in a few weeks on another episode of the Keys to the Commonwealth podcast. Appreciate it.
To learn more about this podcast, visit our page at keystothecommonwealth.com. To connect with Landry regarding insuring your investment portfolio, email Landry at novainsuranceGroup.com or call 859-687-2004.